Hello and welcome to this webinar, this online seminar that is being jointly organized by UN Tourism and UN Women. The online seminar is called A Beginner's Guide to Gender Inclusive Strategies for Tourism Businesses. And we're pleased to have all of you connected with us today. I'd like to take a moment to thank our good partners at UN Women for their great collaboration in organizing this webinar. And before we begin, I would just like to thank all of our viewers who are listening and watching on YouTube. And I'm so sorry, I've just had something myself coming through my ears there. That's why I got a bit distracted. So I've taken my ears out. So let's get started with the webinar. What we're looking forward to today is going through and making gender mainstreaming and gender inclusive strategies seem a little bit more easier, a little bit more digestible for those of you working in the tourism sector. So my name is Ben Owen. I work for UN Tourism. I am a senior project specialist in the Ethics, Culture and Social Responsibility Department, and I am responsible for gender equality activities at UN Tourism. So the objectives of what we're looking to go through today, the tools that we're hoping to impart to all of you listening to go and do good in your tourism businesses, are, first of all, an increased awareness of gender inclusive strategies and corporate policies among tourism businesses. Much feedback that we have when working with you in the private sector is that there's a lot of desire to make a difference, to try to close some of the gender gaps that exist, to increase opportunities for women's empowerment, but people aren't sure in tourism where to start. And it all seems quite big and scary when you see the words corporate policies, especially if you're an entrepreneur or from a micro or small business. But actually, that's exactly what we're doing today's session, to hear from some of the people who have made a difference and to show you, to hopefully inspire you that every small action that we take can make a difference. So the second objective is to facilitate tourism businesses work in reducing gender inequalities in a systematic fashion. So that's what the strategy part is about, to make sure that your company is working to reduce gender inequalities in a way that's systematic. We'll be sharing main lessons learned in designing gender inclusive strategies in tourism that are focusing on what's specific about tourism and what challenges this can pose. So obviously, our sector has a lot of specific features. Some of it's quite seasonal, and many different features. So we'll be hearing from some colleagues today from tourism businesses in Jordan, in Argentina and in Eastern Europe about their experiences. And between all of you, we hope that we'll be sharing practices and tools between yourselves in the chat as well, and listening to our speakers about strategies that are designed to respond to the specific needs of women, girls, men, and boys. So first of all, we'll be hearing from my colleague Anna Fouth, who is the global head of the Women's Empowerment Principles at UN Women. And she'll be giving us an introduction to gender inclusive strategies, talking about the Women's Empowerment Principles, these guidelines that I have with me today that UN Tourism and UN Women jointly published 2 years ago. Giving us the theory, the overview, so we all understand exactly what a gender inclusive strategy looks like. Then we'll be hearing from some of the businesses that I've just talked about. I'll be taking your questions then and putting them to the speakers. So please be putting those in the chat all through the course of the webinar. And just finally to say again that we are broadcasting all this on YouTube. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, my colleague Anna Fouth, who is the global head of the Women's Empowerment Principles. And Anna, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ben, for this introduction. And I'm very excited to be here today. Tourism was actually one of my, I don't think I mentioned it to you, Ben, but one of my first jobs as a tourist guide in various countries in the world. So it's very close to my heart. And also one of my first papers that I wrote on tourism in small island state and in least developed countries. So it's very close to my heart. I know there's some technical issues here to share my um, deck, but I will try to we tested it before, so there's a few steps for me to get rid of a lot of boxes and things. So I hope we can do that very smoothly. If I can just find here to share. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. And I'm going to launch it and swap. And do you see the black or the gray boxes on the screen?
No, that's perfect now, Hannah.
Okay, great, great. So thanks everyone for joining today. As I said, it's a very exciting area for myself personally, but also in the work that we are doing with the women's empowerment principles. So I'm going to talk today a little bit about what it means to foster gender equality in the tourism industry. And you heard also from Ben talking about the women's empowerment principles. We call them in short WEPs in all languages. There are 7 principles, and they've basically been set up to help you advance on gender equality. And it takes you step by step, and I will go through some of the principles in more detail. But basically, we call on you to help us create an ecosystem of stakeholders in your industry to help galvanize gender equality. You probably heard over and over that it will take at least 300 years for gender equality to be achieved. And we want to beat this figure. We want to beat it by creating ecosystems of stakeholders. So as a company, we'd like you to take a whole of organization priority by engaging all of your employees. It's not in one area and not in the other. It pertains to the entire company and your entire organization, no matter the roles. But also to engage your suppliers, your clients, your customers, and the local community that can benefit from you having this gender lens. And as a starting point, and if you take something away from this presentation, it is really that gender equality benefit everyone. It benefits the whole of society. It benefits your business. There's a strong business case that I can go through in my presentation, but it's also beneficial to everyone around it. But it's also a requirement, an increasing requirement by many stakeholders. We see today the young generation are looking to companies that are foster their their values of gender equality, in diversity and inclusion, and they expect today that employers have this lens, that their business partners have this lens, and if they are a client in the tourism or going on vacation, they expect to be treated with those values as well. So it is a great idea to get ahead of the game and make sure that you are not falling behind, because this is coming also through regulations in many countries. So it's better to move on this very quickly and also help us to reduce this figure of 300 years to achieve gender equality. So as I mentioned, there are 7 principles. The first principle is very, very important. We see that over and over again. If there is high-level corporate leadership, if it is the CEO of your company, if it is anyone in the executive team, needs to understand why gender equality is important and bring it up in meetings, bring it up in conversation, and say no if there are biases and inequalities that appear in the workplace. This is also about governance. It's about the values of the company, the value statement of the company. Does it, the gender equality is being reflected there? it is also about how you're running your business with those values, and it's about the culture in the company. Is it an inclusive culture? Moving on to principle 2, this is where many of the workplace issues are sitting. It's about recruitment, promotion. It is about women's leadership in the company. And just to kind of bring in some statistics from the tourism sector, we know that about half of the employees are women, but that only about 20% of the women are in leadership roles. And it is important. We see that also that the business partners, the clients, they see how the company is run. Is it run with a diverse group of people, or is it run with one type of category of people? Like, is it only run by men? Is it only run by men in a particular social cluster? So it is very important. And also to kind of, in this principle 2 is also the whole issue of the wage gap, which also is quite substantial in the tourism sector. It's about 20%. And I think you may say that then, yeah, women are in certain roles and men are in other roles. They are more in leadership roles. So here is where we also call on you to give everyone equal opportunities. Think about bringing in women into non-traditional roles where there might not have been that many women before, and to help create that balance, because that balance is what helps business grow, to be attractive to stakeholders and others. And that is also where we see many women in the informal sector being kind of brought in to work in the tourism sector. That leads me to a very important principle, principle 3, which is about employee health, well-being, and safety. And we know that in the tourism sector, there are more risks of violence and harassment because of the nature of the business. Customer is always right, makes it very difficult to say no to certain situation that could be harassment or sexual harassment or any other form of insecure behavior from the client or from others. And it is also, there are lots of efforts that can be done, and just also raise the awareness that this, we have an ongoing campaign. And if you go to social media, you'll find the campaign. It's called the 16 Days of Activism to End Violence Against Women. We know that
I'm sorry, Anna, you've gone on to mute there. You could just unmute yourself.
That's very strange. I didn't touch anything. But also that every 10 minutes, a woman is killed by her partner or a family member. So this is very important across the board, not specifically for the tourism sector, but to bring this to the fore, that we have this campaign until the 10th of December, which is the International Day on Human Rights, and we invite you to participate in this campaign. The figures are staggering, and going back to the tourism sector, there is risk for women, and avoiding putting them in isolation or working alone in a dark environment or at night would be a very helpful step. I'll move to principle 4, which is about education and training for career advancement. So this education, of course, also include training for all your employees, and understanding what is gender equality, what is an acceptable behavior and non-acceptable behavior in your company, to really make those values of diversity and inclusion and gender equality very well known by employees. And it's very interesting, where I've been working with the bank for the last 2 years and follow them on their WEPS implementation journey. And they basically said it's retention and attracting new talent is real by having this approach with these values. They have had a complete shift in culture and cultural values, and this training has made everyone in the company know that these are the values that are coming through. And this has not only helped the company to attract and retain talent, but also everyone that are there feels very welcome and feel like it's a very good and conducive work environment. So this is very important, and this education and training can also pertain to your business partners or suppliers that you have discussions with them on what the value you stand for in your company. Principle 5 is one that I feel is often left out of the discussion, so I hope we can go into a little bit more of that. It is engaging with your business partners. So when, for example, you need to purchase a service or even a product, that you ask your supplier what their values are about gender equality, or even put in place a code of conduct or a supplier code of conduct specifically, or embed it in your contracts with your suppliers to make sure that they also held to the standard. And that the reason is not only to kind of help create this ecosystem in the tourism industry, but also you are also linked to somebody. If there is a case in one of your suppliers, is the concept of know your counterpart, is that you need to know where they also stand on gender equality. You don't want to have an important business partner where there is a big case of sexual harassment or some other kind of lawsuit. So you need to know who they are, and you need to also hold them to account. So very important principle. That also links, there has another element which is about marketing and advertising to make sure that there's no stereotypes, gender stereotypes in the marketing and advertising, that you're portraying women and men in equally important roles. And we see often in some commercials, not necessarily in the tourism sector, but we see commercials where women are contained to the kitchen and being portrayed as the homemaker as the only role. And that can be damaging for young girls that might lose their hopes and aspiration on what they can do in their careers. Principle 6 is about engaging in the community. Many companies are doing CSR type of initiatives, but it's also about listening to the community, understanding how you can involve them, how you can bring them in, and what is important to them. So to really make it a very kind of co-created space with the local community. Finally, very, very important, principle 7 is very important because of data. Data can help you understand what's happening and looking at trends for some of the bigger companies, but data in general is important. And once you set your targets that you would like to achieve, let's say 50% women in the management, then that data, tracking that data will help you understand whether your measures are effective or not. So this is a very important principle as well. The WEPS journey, we invite you today to become a WEPS signatory if you're not already are. But just to mention with this image that signing the WEPS is not just making a commitment and then you go on business as usual. It is a commitment to join us on a journey of activating your company, engaging your business partners, sustain your efforts, and also report on progress made. So this is an invitation to all of you to join us. And we have a lot of tools. So I just briefly, Ben, before we invite the others to give some further examples, I wanted to also highlight how you can, with our tools, create your own strategy. And I think on the first, we have a gender gap analysis tool, which basically is a questionnaire. It's a self-assessment tool where you can answer at your own time questions on what you have accomplished so far, and then you get a better understanding of where are you on your, and set your baseline. So if you don't know where you are already, this is an important tool to help you understand where you are on the journey. And you're then being classified into beginner, improver, achiever, and leader, depending on the actions that you answer in this self-assessment tool. We also have other tools that can help you to understand how do you create an inclusive process as you set up your strategy or action plan. It is very important that you consult and you discuss not only in your company, but also with your business partners, suppliers, etc., to really understand how can you make a difference for gender equality. There might be lots of ideas that you haven't thought about, and particularly, as I mentioned earlier, for WEPs 6, engaging in the local community, they might have plenty of ideas on how you can engage, how you can contribute to gender equality, but also expand your segments in your business. So this module helps you understand that better. We have a toolkit of about 300 plus different tools and resources, examples from other businesses and what they have done to tackle certain issues. We also have templates and other things to help you on the way. One of the template is to create a gender action plan. So we give you already a template so you can fill and get on your way to advance gender equality in the workplace, marketplace, and community. As I mentioned very briefly, these are the gap analysis tool that gives you an understanding on, are you starting as a beginner? Are you starting as an improver? Or where are you on the gender equality journey? And I mentioned that one. The toolkit, there's a lot of different resources and tools. And I'm also thinking, Ben, maybe something we can think about together to also capture some of the good practices in the tourism sector. But there's plenty of resources for you to go deep into. And we are also, as UN Women, available to answer questions and if you need any support. So how do you then join the WEPs? We need the commitment of the CEO of the company. It's called the CEO Statement of Support. It's being uploaded to this form. It's called the Join form. And we need about 2 weeks to review the application, and then we welcome you in. It is for registered, legally registered business only, and it is for private sector organizations only. So we do accept chambers of commerce, industry associations, business networks as well, in addition to companies. So I think I will end here and then engage with others also in conversations. I think there's a lot to dig into, and we have some great speakers and companies here today to provide a little bit more of practice to the principles that I laid out. So thank you, and back to you, Ben.
Thank you very much, Anna, for that very comprehensive presentation. I think that was excellent that you went over not just how, really how people can go about doing this, but also why it's important specifically for the tourism sector. You touched on some very important points there about the type of gender inequalities that we do see in tourism, specifically in leadership in the private sector. The higher up the ladder you look in tourism, the less women you're going to find. The wage gap, which is stubbornly persistent and is something that needs to be worked on, and also really outlining the benefits for all of our business participants today way of doing this, the business case for gender equality. So now I'd like to introduce some speakers who know a little bit more about that. First up, I'd like to introduce Leali Nashashibi, who is from Mövenpick Hotels and Resorts in Jordan, who's going to tell us, I believe, Mövenpick Resorts and Hotels is a WEPS, a Women's Empowerment Principles signatory already. So Leali will give us some more information on how that's been through that journey and some practical examples of what's been going on in Jordan. Please, Leali.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you for having me as a part of this valuable session. In fact, in 2021, I've been assigned as ambassador for RISE, which is Equity, Diversity and Inclusion program by Accord, to be the ambassador for Jordan or Middle East. So I wanted to think about because I remember 15, 16 years ago, UN Women Jordan has started UN empowerment program in Jordan. And I remember they started having some of the hotel chain in. To shorten the story, our Mövenpick hotel at the Dead Sea had the certification that time. And the person in charge that time, I asked her if she will continue to have more hotels as a signatory. And then after that, I haven't heard anything. And fortunately, after asking and dragging information, I got into UN Women Empowerment program in Jordan, and I met first. I called or communicated with Layla Al-Qasim of Jordan, and where she is really very helpful. And since that time, we became the 6 hotels in Jordan, Mövenpick as a signatory, and we are really proud because it aligns with our Accord chain policy and strategy. So I will let me talk about the leader commitment to the gender equality and women empowerment. In Accord, we have the integrity line available and accessible at all 24 hours. This hotline is connected the head office of Accord in order to make sure that we have a proper check and balance on all sorts of harassment and protect the well-being of every employees. Then employees' benefits are aligned to the international 5-star hotel standards, providing everyone the ease of their transportation needs, meal, health, insurance, and more special benefits to each and everyone that other hotel chains are not providing, such as empowering women on the best capabilities, highlighting local talents, disabled employees, skilled workers, like employing more female mothers in the kitchen, security guard job of female, which is part of non-traditional jobs, promoting them to leadership roles, regardless of age. For example, we have our marketing manager and event manager from Philippines, executive coordinator from UK. We hired talented from Indonesia, India, Bangladesh, Turkey, Tunisian GM. We hire fresh graduates with 0 experiences, and opportunities are endless, and all are welcome to join the Mövenpick family, as we may see their potential fitting to our basic requirements. And when it comes to workplace policies and programs are inclusive, and access to training is clearly defined and institutional policies, building a pipeline of qualified women for leadership positions. We have the access to Accor Academy and the state of the art learning and development called TIPSY that gives the best trainings with certificates at all levels, from rank and file role up to the director and GM's positions. We have cross exposures to other departments and task force to other Mövenpick and Accor properties are one of our best practices, as well to continually educate our team on a practical, actual working environment as well. Setting a quote for women in the executive committee and for women in leadership positions, GMs and senior leadership, let me please brief you that gender parity in leadership when in 2021, women represented over 40% of Accor's executive committee. Specific regions have exceeded this target, with women occupying over 50% of key leadership roles, and we certainly have more in the pipeline with ongoing career development plan for many of our senior female colleagues here in the Mövenpick. For our RISE program, we have to encourage mentorship and cross-gender initiatives aiming to address barriers women face in leadership and career advancement. The program focuses on fostering an inclusive culture through initiatives that enhance awareness, offering training and build networks of support among employees globally. Accor chain has implemented several programs to ensure gender equality across its global network over 5,000 properties. He for She campaign, which was Accor founded signatory of the UN Women He for She initiative. This campaign involves engaging male employees and leaders at ateliers and promoting gender equality. Accor has also pledged to achieve gender balanced leadership by increasing the promotion of women in hotel management positions. RISE Network, this internal program focuses on gender equality and diversity within the organization. It includes over 20,000 members globally and foster mentorship, leadership development, and the empowerment of women in the workforce, parental leave policies. Accor also provides equitable parental leave benefits, ensuring both women and men can balance their careers with family responsibilities. Pay equity audits, regular audits, and action plans are in place to close any gender pay gaps across all levels of the organization. Training and development. Accor offers diversity training to its employees and partners to build awareness and address unconscious biases. Leadership programs are designed to prepare women for senior management roles. This is what our gender equality responsiveness towards women and our employee as well.
Thank you so much, Leali. I think there were so many useful examples there for all of our audience today. You talked about recruitment practices. You talked about preventing gender-based violence with the hotline available for victims there. Campaigns that you've been running, the He for She campaign, the Rise campaign, which promotes people to leadership. Thank you so much for your intervention. We'll be taking any questions in the chat. A kind reminder to everyone on Zoom to please put, or on YouTube, to put your questions in the chat. I'd just like to make a quick inflection to anyone that's listening that's from a smaller business. Accor Hotels, Mövenpick, the group that Mövenpick belongs to, that Leali is representing, has done excellent work. There's a lot of big corporate policies there that are in place across the world. But I just want to stress to anyone listening who is from a smaller business that just doing some of those actions on a smaller level will also make a difference. That's the point that we're trying to get across today. Like, even if you just do one of the things there that Leali's presented in your business, that is still making a difference. And then that gives you a first stepping stone to then proceed on to something more when that started working, etc. So thank you, Leali. I'd like to pass.
Just I want to know,
Yeah.
I want to advise the participant as well and the speakers that this is from why our belief, especially as a female, we were certified last year the best working place for women in Jordan.
Well, congratulations. I think that
Thank
you
you.
yourself are testament to that. And we're very pleased to hear that. Congratulations to Mövenpick Jordan. So
Thank you.
I'm conscious of the time, so we'll pass on now to our next speaker, the other side of the world, from Argentina, from Buenos Aires. Please, Felisa Colombo, is the CEO of Pharma Travel in Argentina, and will be telling us a bit more about their experience over there. Felisa, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I will share this presentation. It's okay with that? You can see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Great. Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, first of all, I wish to say thank you to UN Tourism, Piaget, and AFET Argentina for giving me this opportunity to make this brief yet impactful presentation, especially during these 16 days of activity against violence against women. The tourism sector holds immense potential to drive meaningful change. It can create more opportunities and facilitate high-impact transformations in areas such as economy, social development, and environmental care. But its very nature, tourism is a triple impact activity. And the way that we manage our businesses will determine if that impact is positive or negative. To ensure our impact is positive, we must take actions. This includes offering responsible and sustainable products, such as responsible travel decalogue or carbon footprint measurement tools, and taking steps that add value to the community. For example, offering free mentoring to entrepreneurs, as we have done in our company with the CISNE program, or organizing solidarity actions and activities can make a real difference in the communities. Additionally, we must support the growth and economic development of business, especially those owned by women, LGBTIQ+, migrants, indigenous people, disabled people, or other vulnerable populations. This can be achieved by creating supplier registration forms that inquire about these areas and prioritizing the hiring of commitment suppliers. It's also crucial to explain to travelers why we have recommended certain services over others. Communicating our actions and commitment will also inspire others to join us in this driving change. At present, the tourism sector governance requires leaders who are willing to be agents of change. Becoming one of these leaders, it's a decision that each company must make. Success depends on our self-management capabilities, our knowledge, networks, dedication, and self-determination. It's important to note that currently, private sector companies do not have external incentives aside from their own drive. I believe this is something that needs to change. And clearly, let me pass the other slide. Okay, here it is. There is a clear need from public policies that incentivize responsible practice, such as tax benefits or public registries from responsible companies. Chambers of commerce and business associations must continue to create networks safety spaces, offer training and provide support to companies. Also, international organizations can play a pivotal role by promoting resources and funding to business chambers, helping to implement real policies that will create a more equitable future for tourism. Articulated work with business chambers, international organizations, other professionals, and associations is vital to achieve success in the implementation of equity policies. Furthermore, we need to work on creating statistical bases that report on the active participation of women in the world of tourism, the jobs we occupy, leadership positions, and also representation positions. And in this sense, I invite UN Women and UN Tourism to join AFET, FIVIT, and FIACET project to be able to compile this first data that will be able to show us a real numbers on the active participation of women in the various spheres of tourism in Latin America. Lastly, we need to actively participate in dialogues that even tangentially related to our sector. That's why I'm especially grateful for this opportunity. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Felisa. Yes, data is absolutely key. One of our key recommendations always from UN Tourism to governments, but also to yourselves in the private sector, is to produce more data. All data on people should be disaggregated by gender, by sex, so that we're able to know what's going on, as Anna said earlier. So some really good points there for Lisa as well, coming back to what Anna was saying during her presentation. Some of the things that you do with your suppliers, ensuring your suppliers, you told us yesterday, I believe, about the form when you have send out the form for a new service. One of the options on there is, do you have a gender equality policy in place? If I've not got it wrong, that's a really simple tip that could be added to any of your businesses procurement forms, or however you putting it in your contract, as Anna said. And then another point that I really liked there for Lisa that you mentioned was the importance of networks. So the chambers of commerce, you're obviously a member of the Association of Women women business owners in tourism in Argentina, and the International Federation. So that for all businesses to be able to learn from each other, to be able to support each other in the work that you're doing and all these policies that you're putting in place, joining those kind of organizations is great. So thank you so much, Felisa. Time is running on. Thank you for the questions coming in from Kenya and other people. I'm going to pass the floor to Ansa Svanjga, who is from Intrepid Travel. She's the manager of the East Europe division of Intrepid, who's going to tell us a bit more about that experience. Please keep your questions coming in. We should have 5 minutes at the end to put them to the speakers. Ansa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ben. I will try to kind of keep it short and sweet, so we are sticking to time. Thank you, Ben. So yes, my name is Ante. I am representing Intrepid Travel. Intrepid is a global purpose-led small group adventure travel company. We offer more than 1,000 different experiences on all continents. And we are unique in the fact that we not only design and sell our trips to customers, but we also operate the trips in-house. That is the reason why we have 30 different offices around the world, and I am based in one of them in Zagreb, Croatia. Intrepid is actively working on advancing gender equality in our business, inside of our business, as well as the wider industry. I would like to mention a few kind of practical things that we are doing to maybe for you to take as an example or a learning opportunity. To start with, we are working on increasing the number of women-owned businesses in our supply chain. We are committed to increase the employment opportunities for women globally. And as Ben just mentioned and Felice just mentioned, data is the key. So we have started to make sure that we can make the change, we need to know what we already have. So we have started with a survey that we launched last year to survey all of our suppliers to kind of figure out what's the percentage of our suppliers globally are actually women-owned businesses. So we have the data from 70% of our suppliers that represent 70% of our global spend. And at the moment, we have 20% suppliers that we work with that are women-owned businesses. Our aim is to increase this to at least 30% by 2030. Another initiative that we actively work on is tour leaders and guides. All our trips are accompanied by a local tour leader globally. Everywhere you travel with us. And in some parts of the world where society norms kind of dictate that this job of a guide and a leader is very much male-dominated space. In 2017, Intrepid made a commitment that we need to double the number of tour leaders we employ, that we work with globally. And we actually achieved this goal very quickly in 2019. And we continue to encourage females to join our team everywhere around the world. Just now, we hired 15 new tour leaders in India, which means that now we have 40% of our tour leaders in India are women. In Morocco, we are running awareness campaigns across media to attract females to the industry and come and work as guides and actually provide free training for them in our office. In addition to this, what else we do? Of course, one thing that needs to be mentioned and talked about is the gender pay gap that is not only in this industry, but everywhere globally. In Intrepid, we acknowledge that it's a problem. So in 2022, we did gender pay equity report to actually find out how we are doing as a business globally in all our locations. And then based on the findings of this report, we went and made some changes in our business. Another thing that I would like to mention is workplace policies. This is like something that is very tangible and impactful and quite easy to implement. Well, easy as in it is possible and manageable. We have reviewed and introduced new policies recently that support women, such as flexible working, additional parental leave, breastfeeding policies, and also we have added bereavement policy for pregnancy loss. Another thing that I would like to mention is learning and development opportunities. There was already a mention of mentoring and training programs. We have several of these in the business globally, but this year we piloted and launched a new program that is designed to encourage more women to reach leadership positions. So this is a 4-day course that is run in partnership with Women in Travel CAC and Dr. Lucy Ferguson. So shout out in the audience, I think they are here today. And this program is designed to foster personal and professional growth for exceptional leaders in the business and aspiring female leaders in the business to grow. I was also a participant of this pilot program, and truly was a great opportunity to build meaningful relationships with my fellow female colleagues, and it offered a safe space to reflect on our strengths as well as challenges that we are all facing day to day. And I'm also almost finished, but I just want to quickly mention our customer-facing initiative, which is our Women's Expedition Trips. These are trips that we design specifically, especially for women, and these are run by women. We do believe that travel is for everyone and inclusive for everyone. However, in some countries, there are certain experiences that are not possible for mixed gender groups. So these trips offer these experiences to women travelers. And by doing this, we also support women employment and supply chain, women-owned businesses on these particular itineraries. That's from my side. Thank you very much for listening and giving me the opportunity to share what we do at Intrepid.
And so thank you so much. So there's so many amazing things every time we speak to anyone from Intrepid. Again, similar to our call, there's a big whole list of great things that are going on. Thank you for detailing those really in detail for people. So again, to everyone listening, if you can just pick up one of those things that Ansa said and do that in your company, if you work with tour guides, try to employ tour guides, female tour guides to stimulate more demand for female tour guides. That will make a difference. So thank you, Ansa. And it was interesting about your customer facing. That's something Felisa mentioned as well. The role of the private sector in, changing attitudes and cultures, and also the role of tourism in doing that towards gender stereotypes and gender roles in less gender equal society. So thank you. We have got one question that's come in. There is 6 minutes left. So there was a question about how to convince your leadership that in a business, the management, that it's necessary to do something about gender equality. Would any of have you got any experience or tips on how to convince management that might not be very interested in working on it, that it's something to do? Do any of our speakers want to jump in? Put your hand up, or if not, I could maybe give some examples. I was going to pass the floor to Leali because I know that when she first began working, I've heard of Sportbeat before in Mövenpick, then it was quite a different outlook in terms of women's employment in the company to what it is now. I know she's done great things. So Leali, I don't know if you're able to come back on this question. How to convince your management, Leali, that they should work on gender equality?
They don't need to be convinced, Ben. But on the contrary, they do encourage the gender equality, and it is for Accor, it's a policy, and for Mövenpick as well. We work hard to implement such. They as I say, they encourage and they trust us, so no need to convince them.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Leali. And you're obviously having great results from that management support. Felisa's got her hands up, and then Anna. So Felisa in 1 minute, and then Anna for her reflections and some closing words before I close up the webinar today.
Thank you.
Please, Felisa.
Thank you. Just 2 points. First of all, we are a company of 7 persons, so If you have a little company of tourism, it's also possible to implementing these policies, and to convince it's not always the directors, even it's also the employees, because some employees are not allowed with these policies. I think that an important tool is a sensibilization meetings. Talk about LGBTIQ plus person, talk about migrant persons and their experiences when they arrived to the other countries and they have to start up their lives again. So sensibilization meetings are tools that I recommended profoundly.
Thank you so much, Felisa. We'll go over to Anna now. Anna, your reflections on the question and any closing remarks before I close the webinar, please.
Yeah, no, thank you. So we hear this question a lot and also experienced what works and what doesn't. But it is very important that the top leadership has that commitment. Often the top leadership do see the bigger picture that employees in the company might not see. And it is this changing movement in regulation, in requirements from investors. If you need to attract investment, that is now kind of going in that way. So it is about making it personal. I hear often, particularly from men, when they feel like personally that they would like to create an environment where their wives, daughters, sisters, and others can thrive. That might be a personal side, but data, and I think it's important, we have a lot of data to show that gender equality does matter. And that's why I think that element is very important to collect data. But I think the biggest challenge is actually middle management, particularly in bigger companies, is to have them help them change their day-to-day behavior. Because if they now have to look at a broader set of suppliers, if they now have to look at new ways of recruiting people, that's the people that we need to help and support to make them understand and also change the day-to-day behavior and being more inclusive. And finally, just as a final point, I think that it's been mentioned a few times, small action matters, and small action can actually have snowball effects. So please do not think that you need to have this big strategy before getting started. You can start already today and thinking about gender equality. So thank you so much.
Thank
Great
you so
questions,
much.
everyone.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you to everyone connected. That's the end of our webinar today. So as we close, I'd just like a reminder, what's been being put in the chat for you. This publication, the Gender Inclusive Strategy for Tourism Businesses, is a UN Tourism and UN Women publication that goes through many of the steps Anna was talking about today, many of the things that our speakers have been talking about, and really is a guideline. It's a helpful booklet for you. It's available for free on the UN Tourism e-library. We have the links in the chat, or you can Google that just to find it. So a final thank you to our partners UN Women, to Anna specifically from the Women's Empowerment Principles, for being with us today. It's been really great to hear from our speakers, Leali, Felisa, and Ansa, about how supportive their management is, about all of the policies that they have put in place and the changes that they've been able to make with those. So we hope this has been useful for all of you listening today. It is available on YouTube if you want to go back, rewind, and just pick up on any of the points that were made. And we at UN Tourism remain at your disposal if we can be of any help. So thank you. I'll allow everybody to unmute themselves to say goodbye now as we just close this webinar. So thank you again to everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hasta siempre.
Thank you, Ben. Glad to meet you, to see you today. Bye.
Same
Bye.
here. Same here. Come and visit.
Thank you,
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Ben.
Bye-bye.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you all. Bye-bye.